Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I didn't want to make this video, but I feel like I need to. I didn't upload yesterday, and I want to go into why. And if I don't upload for a few days, you'll know why. I'll just get into the story. Yesterday morning, we woke up, and Graham, which is my cat, he was asleep in the litter box, which he's never done before. So we thought that was a little weird, but we weren't too worried. Shane picked him up, got him out, and then he came to sleep in our closet for the rest of the day. Not unusual, he always sleeps in the closet. And about, my times are a little messed up, guys. I think about like 10 o'clock, he jumped up on the bed and he meowed, but it wasn't like his meow like he always does, like give me attention. It was a weird meow. So immediately I'm like, something's wrong, you know. And he had like squinty eyes, and he was I'm trying not to cry, guys. I'm done enough crying. He had squinty eyes, and he looked offended. Like offended at something. Like the face he made when he was offended. And then he squatted on the bed, so we quickly moved him. He's never done that. We moved him to the litter box. He went right in, and you know, we're like, okay, that's great, you know, he'll go in there. We checked on him about like 15 minutes later, and he was just laying in the litter box again. And so I got him his wet food to try to see if he'll eat it, because he was acting strange. He wasn't eating it. His treats he wasn't eating. I tried taking some water and putting it on his nose. His nose was very dry. I tried putting it on his nose and he'd lick it, you know. I was seeing if he was dehydrated. I was sitting on the toilet, and Shane was sitting on the floor beside the litter box, and we watched him try to squat. Like he got up and squatted like as if he was trying to go to the bathroom, and then like a few seconds later he would just lay back down, and then literally like not even 30 seconds later again he would get up, squat, nothing would come out, and then he would lay back down. So at this point I called the emergency vet here around my city. Actually, it's like a city over. And they said come in immediately, he could have a blockage. So I thought, you know, it's okay, you know, like he probably has like a UTI, or like he's constipated or something. And so we got him ready, and we got him in the carrier that we had for him since he was born. Well, since he was like 8 weeks. And then we took him to the emergency vet. We signed him in. We've already been to the emergency vet once before with Willow, when she was throwing up, and she even threw up a little blood, but she's fine, obviously. And they took him back. We didn't get to go back with him. I think they were just triaging him. The nurse came out and said that his vitals were okay, but there was a blockage in his bladder. They palpitated it, and it was very full and firm. So there was a blockage causing him not to go to the bathroom. So a little while later, I think it was like 2, that they called us into a room and the doctor came in and he said that there was a blockage. And that the option that they do for blockage is a procedure that costs like $2,000, and there's no guarantee that it would work. And he said, I know most people don't have $2,000, and we didn't have $2,000. It would be a 48-hour stay, and I think like x-rays, and I don't know what else he said. It was all a blur. But he's like, I know you don't have that. So there's other options. There's like a $600 to $800 procedure. Backtrack a little bit. Just to be seen in the emergency vet, we had to pay $140. So this was all on top of that. All on top of the $140, I believe. It was like a $600 to $800 procedure. I think, I don't know what they did, but then they would send him home with like pain medicine. They would relieve his bladder, flush his bladder, I think, and then it was still, I think, very invasive. And they'd send him home with pain medication, and we'd have to go visit our primary vet ASAP first thing in the morning, which it was around like 2:30 at this time. And we knew that it's so hard to get into our primary vet. And there was no, you know, we didn't have money after if we would pay $800, we'd have no money to get to the vet the next day and pay a couple $100 more, you know. And then he gave us a third option, which was, I think, like almost $300, which they would just flush out the bladder. It was I don't think it was invasive. I don't know. I think they would just give him fluids through the IV. It's all just very fresh to me, but I don't remember a lot. But then he said, again, you know, this is just temporary. You'd have to go to your primary vet, and they'd probably have to do what we suggested in the beginning. So we'd still be spending thousands of dollars. And the fourth option, I don't want to cry, was to put him down. The vet told us that once a cat has a blockage in the bladder, that we need an immediate action because the toxins that can build up in the bloodstream or whatever. So, and also that there's a high risk for them to have more blockages in the future. And we couldn't afford to pay $2,000 each time he has a blockage. I mean, I know there was a chance that maybe this is just a one-time thing, but the doctor didn't believe that that's the case. So the doctor left us alone for like an hour so we could talk. So it was like almost 4 o'clock at this time, and we ultimately, since we didn't have the money, and please don't bash on me, because this is really hard, and we didn't want him to be in pain anymore. We ultimately chose to put him down. And We didn't want to. That was literally the hardest decision I've ever made in my entire life. To put down basically your kid. And don't bash me for this either, because I know a lot of people are very judgmental on this sort of thing. But already I was on the verge of passing out, and I had huge panic attacks, and I didn't want to end up in the hospital either that night, especially because Shane can't drive, so they'd have to call the squad, and it'd be a whole mess. But I told Shane, I was like, I can't be in the room with him when he goes. And Shane was telling me that I should, because I'll regret it. But I couldn't. I just want to get through this. I couldn't. And he didn't think he could either. Especially without me. So we told the vet that. And she said, well, that's okay. You know. We understand. It's going to be okay. You know, we'll have vets there to comfort him. Then I asked, this part will probably make me cry the most. I asked if we can visit him before he goes. And obviously she said yes, obviously. So I thought at the time he was kind of out of it. I wasn't sure what all they did. So I was just expecting him to just, you know, be laying there. But they carried him in his carrier. And I just heard him meow. And I lost it. I lost it. I didn't, at that point, my brain and my heart were conflicting. I didn't want to see him, because then it would make it real. But I finally calmed down a little bit. Shane picked him up, and Shane was a wreck. He was a wreck. And he picked him up, and Graham wasn't under anything, so he was just in pain. So he was a little different, but he was still meowing until Shane picked him up. And normally Graham would put up a fight, kind of, when Shane would hold him the way he did. But Graham didn't. He just laid there. And we told him that we loved him. And I was telling him, that I was sorry. And that I loved him. And I was kissing him, and Shane was kissing him, and he looked at me. Graham looked at me. Probably because, you know, he saw I was crying. Graham was pretty good with that. And he just looked at me, and I just kept saying that I was sorry, and that, you know, we'll never forget him, and that we love him, and that we'll see him again. And he started to purr. He started to purr pretty loud. And I guess looking back now, I took that as a sign that he was going to be okay. But I don't know. And so we spent our time with him, and we had to hand him over to the vet. And he said, you can just hand him to me and you can take the carrier. And so we watched him walk out with our baby, knowing we'd never see him again. And then the vet assistant came in, and she gave us the papers on the funeral home and asked us what we wanted to do. There was 3 options. There was cremation. There was we take him home after they get done and we bury him. And I don't want him buried here. This is not where I want my baby to be buried. I don't plan on spending my whole life in this place, you know. And or the funeral home can have a burial for him. And I knew in my heart that I wanted cremation. I wanted his ashes. Obviously, I wanted his ashes. I wanted him here. I wanted to take him wherever I needed to take him whenever we moved or whatever. So we chose that option, and she told us that tomorrow morning we needed to call the funeral home. So at this time, he was taken back to get euthanized at like, I think almost 6 in the morning. I don't know. And so we ended up paying almost $400 for everything. Well, no, it was like $320, I think. And then they said that, like I said, we had to call the funeral home this morning. And the only reason it was so high is because the vet had a holding fee, because they had to hold him until the funeral home can get him. And, you probably hear my dogs in there, I'm sorry. But once the funeral home went to pick him up, they would reimburse us the money from holding him. So, Shane called today. And I just want to say the people at the emergency vet were so amazing. I don't know their names. But the doctor was just so kind. And the vet techs were so kind. I knew that they would take, I knew they would take good care of him in his final minutes, since I couldn't be there, which I kind of regret, so please take it easy on me. You can call me selfish, but I didn't even see my mom when she took her last breath, and I didn't see her after she passed either, because I couldn't imagine seeing her laying there and not breathing, and I don't want my last moments of him to be of him not breathing. So, the funeral home asked us, you know, what we wanted. We said cremation, and Shane took care of that phone call. He's literally been my rock. I've been a mess. He was a mess last night, but he's been pretty strong today. But, he's at work right now, so that's why I probably should have waited to film this with him, but my eyes are so raw. But, I just couldn't. But the funeral home asked us, if we wanted a lock of his hair. And of course we said yeah. And then, they asked if we wanted paw prints done. They gave us an option of paper, his paw print on a piece of paper or imprinted in clay. And at first we wanted the clay, but then she said, well, you know, also clay breaks, so we decided to do both. So that was another $120, not even including the urn that we have to pick out next week. He wasn't even 2 yet, guys. His birthday, his second birthday was on April Fool's Day. He was too young. You know? It'd be different if he was like 10 years old. You know, he would have a good life. But he wasn't. He was 1. He was almost 2, and when we got home also last night, I had Shane come in first to move the litter box in his food bowl, because I couldn't see it. We put these blankets, which are Caleb and Nolan's, in the inside the carrier, so he'd be warm and comfy when we went to the vet. And now these are like the only thing I have left that he touched last. I've never had to put down an animal before in my life. I mean, I've had animals pass away, but I never had to make that decision to end their life. And I'm really struggling with it. Because I keep thinking, like, I probably made a mistake, and if we had more money, then we'd be able to fix him, and he would still be here, and I could walk in and see him, or when we pull up in the driveway, he'll be sitting in the window, but I can't, like, he's not gonna come home. The only way he's coming home is in an urn. I don't know, guys. So if I'm absent for a while, which I don't want to be, but if I am, I'll come back. I don't know how I'm going to process this. I know I said I was doing OMAD, but I don't even want to think about food right now. I have no appetite. I just want to sleep and just kind of forget the world. It feels like a nightmare, you know. Graham, when we first got Graham picked me. The second I held him, my heart just knew. He started instantly purring. Instantly. And I actually cried when I held him the first time, because I knew that that was my cat. This video is longer than I thought. So I apologize, and I'm sorry that I'm an ugly crier. And I'm sorry if you can't really hear me, because I'm trying. But yeah, work wouldn't let Shane call off today. So he's at work, obviously. But he did go in late. So just just please keep us in your thoughts, and if you pray, please pray for us, because I'm not okay. Please pray for my dogs, as they also lost him after having him for almost 2 years. You know, as their brother. But yeah, guys, I think I'm gonna end this video here. I don't think I left out anything. I'm just tired. So I'm gonna leave it here. Like I said, keep us in your thoughts. I really love you guys, and make sure you hold your pets extra close, because they could be here one day and then gone the next. And yeah, so make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you soon, guys. Bye.